I'm Victor Zappi. I'm an assistant professor in music technology here at Cambly, or in my kitchen in this case. I teach a variety of courses that cover the more technical aspect of music technology, so I'm not much related to composition, but related to the understanding and the development of technologies that may be used to perform, compose, or any other kind of creative activity that is based upon sound and music. And my research is about the design of new digital musical instruments, or in general, new electronic musical instruments that, let's say, transcend both the common ways of synthesizing and control sound, as well as the actual physical interaction that we are used to. I think not just students, but this is quite common among all of us. We start to have very high-end equipment in our places and at our homes, like laptops and just a few extra pieces of hardware. We can basically recreate a sound studio or a visual creativity studio, whatever we are working on. And as I said before, this was the time for some students to actually make use of this, because of course you have access to very cool facilities at Northeastern, so you start to neglect a little bit your home studio that you built in your apartment or in your bedroom, right? As soon as you get access to university, like you kind of neglect that. But now actually some students are reverting back to that. It seems that it was some kind of a good investment, let's say. And that's the same for me, of course. But in particular, I have a student in acoustics and psychoacoustics that was interested in understanding how sound treatment works in studios, recording studios. And so basically, he's using his equipment to run the same kind of tests that people like professionals run in professional studios. And he managed to find online signatures of real studios to compare basically the results from his measurements. Of course, these are not perfect, but let's assume they are. And the measurements coming from professional studios. So basically, this student really made use of his equipment to step up and try to understand and get closer to what a professional environment is, which I think is really pretty cool. And I'm not sure if it would have happened in a situation in which he would have had access to like professional studios before the pandemic, of course. So this was kind of forced upon him, but he kind of reacted in a very creative way, I think. And it's probably for the better in this case. Like having hardware in front of you on your desk and combining components, connecting to speakers, and modify them and hear the results and compare with the theoretical aspect of technology. So the kind of engineering modeling of technology that was presented on paper on the slides, and then compare that with the actual output. Digital applications and software that runs on students' machines, on students' laptops. So it's both hardware and software, very hands-on and based on a comparison between modeling and then real-life applications. This can be done anywhere. I tend to use open source or at least freeware software, so students can easily download applications, test them, use them, follow my classes. They work like workshops. So I show them something, they replicate it, and then I present them with some open questions or some challenges, and I give them some time to actually try to fix this or face these challenges and find some solutions, and then I show them the solution. And this, of course, happens both in a direct, like one-to-one interaction, like in class, or it can work virtually via a webcam or a video chat. For what concerns hardware, it's a little bit different. I need students, of course, to have equipment with them. And it's happening right now for another course. So I prepare some kits and I deliver these kits so that they have all the components that they need with them at home, wherever they are. And again, I run this workshop style classes so that I ask them something and then I show them the actual solution. And we use webcam or chat or video chat to actually discuss about the problems, issues, or even the interesting outcomes of this iterative process. Another thing that you mentioned that I like is that you start from the basics, because this is a very engineering approach. You build stuff rather than just using stuff that has been made by someone else. Or at least when you use something that has been made by someone else, you really decompose it into its, atoms so that you truly understand how it works. And you test if it works as it's supposed to work, right? So that maybe you can design something that is similar or a little bit different, taking this as an inspiration. So the idea here is to actually do this, to have access to equipment or pieces of software that are, very transparent, and you can do this wherever you want. You don't need very special equipment to do that. You just need to have access to these units, and then you can build whatever you want. That's a kind of engineering/musical approach that I propose here at CAMD. I think that is a little bit unique to the classes that I'm proposing, because I'm an engineer, that's why, but I'm a musician at the same time. So that's probably why I push students to have this kind of experiences. I have to say, I only have one student that is basically far, far away. He's in Australia, so the time zone is very nasty, and he can't basically attend classes, but of course we record everything, and I doubled up the effort that I put in creating materials. The slides are kind of self-explanatory, and he's also one of my RAs, so we have a special relationship, so it's okay. But one thing that I do to actually foster a sense of community, it's something that I actually I've stolen from my mentor. So the idea is that a community doesn't necessarily to be a real physical community, and we see this happening more and more often. There are communities just live on web feeds and videos and sharing SoundCloud links and stuff like that. So I really want, especially one of my classes is very it's project driven and extremely related on creativity, which is embedded audio programming. I want them to actually kind of create, or let's say put the basis to create a community that won't stop at this current iteration of the course, but will go on and on. Basically, I'm going to ask them to present their projects through videos, and I want to create a database of videos that, of course, that will be shared among all the students in this specific roster, so that they have an understanding of what the other students eventually accomplished at the end of the course. But at the same time, I want these videos to be, available to future students or students that may consider to join this class, to start to understand what kind of community they would join if they attend this class in the future. And maybe in person, we will have other events where people can share their works in the future. And that was the initial idea of this course. But since this, came to a halt, I think that creating some kind of expectation through video sharing and some kind of community, maybe with a website or a remote platform where students not only share the videos but can also communicate and continue their communication even at the end of the course. I think it would be the best way to actually foster this sense of community, and no matter where students are, no matter what happened, because even emotionally something happened to some of the students, maybe they don't feel very secure about their work anymore. But sharing these ideas, sharing the issues, the challenges, and even the accomplishments, I think it would be a very great way to create a community that continues on. And basically this will be a solution that is not just crafted for this specific situation, but this situation basically created an opportunity to explore new ways of communal engagement that may go on and on in the next iterations of the course.